Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Localization Fire Site Chat. My name is Romina Ayoub, and I'm the founder of this channel. I have with me today an impressive panel. We're going to be talking about a lot of good stuff in this week's conversation. I can't wait to dive into it. I'm joined today by various experts from various topics. The topic for the conversation today is economics, and how does the localization and the learning industry and a variety of industries within the macroeconomics of knowledge-based industries connect and interconnect together, and what can we learn and benefit from each other as we explore this large topic. And with me today, I have, I'll let the team introduce themselves, but I named them first. Maria Jose Alberto and from Argentina, Maria Romina Gaya from Argentina as well. I have Philippe Sejalon coming to us live from Greece. We don't want to get jealous there, Philippe. We'll leave for that another conversation. And Bruno Herman, I think, Bruno, you're in Germany. Am I correct?
No, I'm in Belgium.
You're in Belgium. Sorry about that. And I'm Robin Ayoub coming to you live from the beautiful Marbella, Spain. So team, if you don't mind, let's start with introducing ourselves appropriately. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Small bio, I guess. We'll start with Maria.
Hello, how are you? Well, my name is Maria Jose Alberto. I'm the CEO of ILS. I run a translation company since 2007. And as I said, I'm a translator myself. And for some reason, I'm talking here about knowledge-based services because I didn't know about that when I started 20 years ago, more or less, or more. I don't remember. But this economy that we are talking about right now, it was something that didn't exist as such before. And I met Romina working on some I'm part of an association of language companies in Argentina, and we had the chance to introduce the topic to the government some years ago, and that's where I met Romina. She helped us a lot at that time. So, well, I'm also part of Women in Localization as a chapter manager for Argentina. So I'm really supportive of the translation and localization industry, and it's amazing all the people that I've managed to meet along these years, because this is a global industry and that's something really beautiful. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Robin, for the invitation.
Thank you, Maria Jose. Appreciate it. Romina, you want to go next?
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you, Robin, for having me. I'm very glad to be here. My name is Romina Gaya. I'm an economist, and I work as an independent consultant on trading knowledge-based services. I work for international organizations, business chambers, SMEs who want to go global. So I really enjoy working in this industry. I really like it, and I think there are many interesting opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Romina. Appreciate it. Philippe?
Hi, Robin. Thanks for having me on the show, first of all. My name is Philippe Sejalon. I'm the co-founder of the Engage Institute. We provide the exciting digital training to insurance companies and banks around the world. And we love learning, we love training, and we understand technology and insurance very well. So that's how we decided to make basically the whole experience of onboarding in insurance companies a more exciting thing. That's what we did.
Excellent. Bruno.
Yes, thanks, Robin, for having me as well. My name is Bruno Herman. I'm based in Brussels, Belgium. I've been in the content industry for 30 years this year. And so I started as a translator, as a linguist, and then project manager. And then I joined the client side of the content industry. So I worked for several multinationals in different industries, technology, life science, business intelligence. And right now I'm a consultant working on the one hand with executive leaders about, the right strategy for international content. And on the other hand, I'm also very hands-on, creating and improving content operations for several organizations in the private sector. So that's the sort of very practical side of my consultancy. Thanks.
Excellent, Bruno. Thank you. And now let's dive into the conversation. I guess, my first question goes to Maria Jose. From your perspective, what drove and what motivated you, or from the thinking perspective, to start thinking broadly from localization, from translation to knowledge base? What was the impetus to drive that thinking, if you will?
Well, actually, I didn't know what was knowledge-based services, as I said before. Before some work and before this was introduced locally by government agencies in Argentina. But it's amazing how we are not just, it's not just the translation and localization sector. I mean, this encompasses so many other professions and so many other industries. And we are part of all that. And we realized that the translation and localization sector is cross-industry. So, and when we realized of that, it's okay, we are working with all these other industries that are also providing knowledge-based services that require just internet and require knowledge and require skills and soft skills. And it's not, I mean, heavy machinery here. So we started finding similarities with many other industries like, well, software, for example. And we, as an association, in the case of the Argentine Association of Language Companies, we got in touch with many other topics that we said, okay, this is not just translation. We are doing something, and we're in between many other things here, like, I know, artificial intelligence, for example, and how that impacts our services and impacts our industry as well. So this is bigger. This is bigger. This is huge. And now with the arrival of ChatGPT and all that can add to our industry, we are also experiencing, as I said, something bigger than just translating. And we need to know, and we need to be in touch and collaborate with different industries and different professionals from different backgrounds to complement our sector. So this became really, really interesting, and that's how I ended up proposing you to talk about knowledge-based services, because this is really, it's happening fast. It's happening faster from the pandemics onwards, and we need to work together.
No, I appreciate that. That sounds very interesting. And most industries, you hit a nail on the head. As we broaden our thinking, broaden our horizon, we can start adding services. We can start expanding our offering. You know, we're all in business to make money at the end of the day. It's not a charity organization that you guys are running. Yet at some point, you need to start thinking beyond what used to work a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, and now figure out what's the future hold. Now, moving on to Philippe, if you don't mind, Philippe, from a learning perspective, I mean, you're immersed into this. You've been doing this for many years. So tell us a little bit about the e-learning from your point of view, from your own experience. You know, how big is the industry? What has been successes for you? What worked? What doesn't work? How does the technology impact you nowadays with the advancement of technology? I know Engage is at the forefront of technology. How has that been able to help you out?
Yeah, well, thanks, Robin. First, I would like to add on to what you said before, the content creation, you know. An average, just a quick statistics from OpenAI, an average library in the US has about 79,000 books. OpenAI, about 6 months ago, ChatGPT would generate books per day. So that's about the magnitude of change we see. So basically, when you create now digital training, you want digital training about blockchain, about crypto, press a button, put a prompt, you get your training. You want to add videos, you can have a whole system that now creates this. So on your question, how is training being impacted? AI is bringing an amazing shift for much more content. It can also increase quality. We have also seen the metaverse, 3D virtual worlds that can create a much more immersive experience. With AI, we can do what we call mass customization. We are all different. The way we learn is different. The way you learn, maybe you like reading, maybe I like watching videos, etc. So with mass customization, that is, we customize every single course to every single learner using your own personality set. That's exactly what we see now thanks to technology. So it's a very exciting time where technology is taking a front seat, but we should also remember that we are talking with humans. Our goals are humans. So we overwhelm them with content. we can overwhelm, all of us are now overwhelmed with content. So we have to make sure that we keep storytelling in the loop, that we keep to the core of the information, and that we do a simple progression. So that's about the main challenges that we've seen in training, and we're far from being there. Like last point there, when I ask insurance companies who are our clients, what do you think about the state of training in the industry? They're very often saying it's not good enough. That's the feedback I got, and even from some of the best providers. So we all have to look at ourselves in a critical way here and saying, how do we make sure that there is an immersive learning, there is storytelling, and these are the challenges that we see taking place right now.
So just to follow up on this idea, because we're seeing the same thing in the localization, I guess Bruno can jump in any minute here. We're seeing the same thing in localization industries as well. I guess it's across all industries, the impact of AI. I think there's what I call that when you drop it's like when you drop a rock in the water, it makes that splash and it just calms down a little later. Everybody's getting on board now with AI, you know, the attractiveness of AI, that ease of use, the cheapness of it. You know, I can, within the click of a button, do whatever I need to do. But you're right, you bring up a very good point, Philippe, is that idea that we're delivering to humans at the end of the day. These are not machine learning machines, teaching machines. As a human at the end of the day needs to be consuming this content or whatever we're creating. And we always talk in our industry about human in the middle. Are you guys seeing the same thing on your side as well? Human in the middle, meaning that, yeah, machine can help me out, but human needs to police all this. Bruno?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the combination of human in the loop, as it's called, and technology is really key. But it's a big challenge because the balance has to be right. You know, what is most automated, what is most human. So I think that one way to sort of address that challenge that I see in the industry, in the localization industry, is that a number of suppliers, LSPs as it's called, are actually moving from language services to content services. And I think that's really key. It's really key, not just for the localization industry, also for the content creation industry, for the content testing industry. Because when you think about, you know, content from a client perspective, and this is where the money comes from, right? So clients, they are looking for a solution that can help them solve business issues from a content supply chain perspective, not just localization, not just creation. They want to have a content supply chain that is as efficient and as effective as possible. And that's why personally, when I'm working with a couple of LSPs right now, I'm helping them just to make that move or to make that transformation from language services, so very vertical in a way, to content services, which is much more horizontal, where you can actually, you know, as an LSP, as a supplier, you can offer more. To your point, Robin, you can create more value to clients. And I think, to be honest, this transformation is a challenge, and it's an opportunity. So let's start with the opportunity to be optimistic. The opportunity here with AI is that, you know, it's an opportunity for specifically the localization industry to be more embedded in content supply chains, because they can really bring this human value, this human touch, if I can use that term, to content operations. Because of course, technology is everywhere, but as you said in the beginning, it's very key to actually, you know, keep human in the loop. But how to keep that in the loop? How to keep human in the loop? You know, you have different ways of doing that. So that's the opportunity to be more embedded and to be more celebrated, recognized by clients. The challenge is that this AI-powered transformation is really creating a number of changes in operations. And I will give you only one example, which is workflows. For decades, the content industry and the localization industry have been working according to file transaction. You know, I send you files, you send me files back. So the whole supply chain was mostly based on file transaction between suppliers or within clients themselves. Now, with AI, files are no longer relevant. It's about data. It's about language data. You cannot feed, as I said in the past, you cannot feed AI with files. You need data to train your AI engine. And that's where the operational aspect is really changing a lot, because instead of having or moving from a workflow which is based on the transaction of files, you know, now it's more based on data flows, language data flows. But the challenge is that, you need to convert a number of files into data, because otherwise you are not going to be able to use AI anyway. So that is, from an operations perspective, it's a big challenge, technically, but also humanly, because of course, in the past you had post editors, for instance, in the localization industry. Those post editors might become now data annotators, as an example.
No, correct. You're absolutely correct. You bring up a very good point in terms of, and I love the idea that you used, Bruno, in terms of, take what we know as an industry and try to, redirect it to other things in how we repurpose we redirect ourselves as an industry to move to provide other services or adapt to new environment. Because, for many years, people say, technology is going to be the end of the industry. Technology is going to, kill everybody. And then, and I'm talking about from an industry perspective, but that's not true. I mean, we all know that. And people have reactionary ways of expressing themselves every time there's a new technology coming online. But you bring up a very good point, and that's the reason for this conversation, is to cleverly work together, try to figure out how to take what we currently know and have in place, and with a small amount of effort, retrain, re-equip, and redirect to other things. I had a conversation actually on this channel with Michel Lopez from V2F. He's the CEO of V2F. He bring up a very good ideas in terms of how he transferred his company from the transactional thing, Bruno, you're mentioning, to more of a data-driven organization working on data versus a transactional. You send me file, I send you file. Those are the old ways. And the new way now is all about data. How do we take data, consume it, and dissect it, try to make sense of it, build databases, and then repurpose that data and send it back to the customer. And that's what customers at the end of the day are looking for. Which brings me to another conversation maybe we should start having is Maria Jose, you've dabbled with this idea for a while now. Did you introduce any transformation to ILS, and what was the results of that? Can you talk a little bit about what you've done, and sure, if you've noticed any positive or negative changes? What's the learning?
Well, first of all, I want to add to something you said before. That is that we should have these conversations with other people from other industries. Actually, the Argentine Association of Language Companies, last week we had an event where we had someone talking about AI, none from the localization industry, someone talking about blockchain and tokenization and crypto and all that, not from the localization industry. Because we learned that, we had other topics like internationalization, which is something that is really relevant in a topic brought by someone who is not from the industry. And that is something that we need to do. We need to do more often, I would say, because we need to complement our knowledge. It's not just our knowledge about the industry, but how we can complement with other sectors which are really relevant to us. So we are on that path, and I think that we used to put that into practice more often, as I said. I should say that from my perspective at ILS, we started implemented many years ago, of course, with post-editing of machine translation. We've done this for, like more than a decade. So it was a new service. It is a new service. There is some fight about that, if it is not, about translators who are willing to provide that service. Some others are not, are like struggling with technology, and something that we need to understand deeper and see how that benefits our jobs and our capacities. But so I'm really used to talking about this thing, but lately we've implemented that in sales, which is something interesting. We started working with this platform that allows us to move faster with leads, for example. And that is something really interesting, because the time it takes, imagine this, the time it takes for you to write an email, to think every specific word. It's amazing how you reduce time, and you can customize that. It's not that, I totally agree with Philippe about that, and time management, and Bruno regarding human touch, because we do both. It's not that it's just AI. We need to customize things. It's not that it's for everyone it's the same. So there is this human. We need to remember that it's important, this human, to be in the middle. It's not just AI. But there are many things that are changing as jobs. And because this, I think it's revolutionizing the time it takes to do many things. And we saw that with post-editing. And this is moving forward to many other sectors. So maybe AI is not something that's going to be implemented in every part of your company, but possibly there are sectors that you need to identify in which it suits better and take advantage of that. And there are many people who are afraid. I remember being at Gala in Dublin April. And there was this debate about ChatGPT, and it was like devil. It was like, we're going to die. And, and the thing is, eventually we will, definitely. But the point is that in the meantime, first of all, we don't have to be scared of this. We need to take advantage of it. We need to benefit from it. And things change. Otherwise, as I always say, we're going to die like the dinosaurs. We need to move forward and adapt. So I said, well, maybe I just kept on talking besides your question, Robin, but in my opinion, we are trying. We are giving it a try, and it's not that we are, we're trying to use it cautiously because also, as you were saying before, I think it was Philippe mentioning about the things that ChatGPT can do, and it can write how many books in a week, I don't know, or in a day. There are some restrictions coming on that. It's not that, for example, there are many areas in our sector that do not allow, for example, to use machine translation or AI, like
life sciences.
I think it's life sciences and pharma. So there are restrictions because human touch there is essential. And I don't know, I'm not saying that this is not going to happen, but at this point of AI, well, there are some differences in which type of content you can apply it or not. But well, it's part of the journey.
If I may react, Robin, if you don't mind, Maria Jose, on one thing you said. Like, I think, I like to believe, I love technology, and of course I love humans too. And I think it's not either or, but for me, it's always both. How often can you everybody can have their own expert all the time with them in the company. So in our company, our CTO, Patrice, always said, all our processes must include AI. But not to replace humans, but to make us much more powerful, much more impactful. And I like this way of thinking. It's really, we have to, in everything we do, we look at the support of AI and then, of course, the review of the human. Here in Athens, I was talking to someone who worked in a big company, in a call center, I will not mention. And they actually implemented AI in what I was very surprised. Talked to one of the employees and said, hey, it was in a dinner. And he said, well, now AI tells me what I have to say, and I just have to copy paste to the client. And I said, but isn't that not the way it should be? And he said, well, that doesn't make my job fun. And we're like, for me, it was obvious. AI is your advisor, and you have advice, perfect. And then you, as the expert, you decide on how to use it. So I think a lot of people are afraid because they haven't tried it or they think they're going to be replaced. But I think it just boosts all of us, our own performances in drastic way.
Absolutely. No, thanks for that point there, Philippe. I really appreciate it. Now, one of the things that as we contemplate what's going on and the changes that's going on in both industries or in all of our industries, one thing comes to mind is, this question is for Romina. Have you, and I know you've been a professor, you're still a lecturer I think you're still a lecturer, I don't know. You've done a lot of activities in that regard in a variety of colleges and universities, but now, what do you see like the new generation of workers coming into the knowledge-based industry? How are they going to learn? What are they going to learn? What jobs are available to them? We can't keep teaching them the old traditional way. I'm assuming things have to change. Am I correct? Or?
Of course, things have to change. And the way we learn has also the way in which we teach. And I come from a developing country, so I'm very concerned about the challenges because, the skills needed in the new jobs are very different from those of the old jobs. So you have to, there are challenges on two levels. First of all, you have to transform people who are already working. So we all have to develop new skills, and you also have to develop new skills, especially in terms of digital skills, but also in terms of creativity and many soft skills for those who are learning now. But we have, and I say we because I'm talking from a developing country perspective, we have very old education systems. Most children are now learning in the same way I used to learn when I was, I don't know, 10 years old. So we have to transform that. And we also have a huge problem in terms of STEM skills. And education is very, we have problems in terms of teaching that, especially for small children. I teach at the university level, so my students already have those problems. And it's very important to transform the way we teach and the way in which students learn, so they can be prepared for the knowledge-based economy.
Oh, great. And Bruno, from your perspective, now when we talk about the reorientating our industries and our thinking and the way we're looking at things, it doesn't matter which industry we're talking about, as long as we're in the content business. What do you think of the subject of reskilling, retooling, repurposing the existing workforce to be able to learn and cope with the new developments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be a critical point for not just survival, but success, I would say. And before, diving into my answer to your question, I would like to, in my opinion, I would like to say that a number of people are a little bit skeptical or afraid of AI because of the words that are used. It's artificial intelligence. I think intelligence is a word that is very human. So it's tied to human nature. And if you define artificial intelligence as the most sophisticated form of automation, it becomes something quite different. It's no longer about intelligence, it's about automation. And that's what AI is all about, eventually. It's automation. Automation further, better, more. And that's really what I would like to say about, the sort of feeling that some people have about AI. Now, I think, when I have to, in the past, when I was creating teams, with automation technology at stake, I was always telling that, to be able to do a good job, you have to make your work inclusive and value-driven. Inclusive, meaning that, you don't have to specifically work in your bubble. You have to really collaborate with other people and collaborate with technology. And that's what AI is all about right now, because many people call AI my companion, my co-pilot. And I think that's really what it should be. It's a way also to make, your work more inclusive, not just by working with other people, but also by including technology in what you do. So that's the first thing. The second thing is value-driven. So, Robin, you gave the title of this session about including, I think, knowledge-based economy. And I think that's really what, people here, all of us here, we are doing in the content industry. We are, creating information, we are using information, we are improving information, but essentially this is all based on the value of knowledge. And, in order to sort of change or, make the change easier in terms of roles and responsibilities, it's really necessary to, learn a lot, to unlearn what is no longer useful now, and to relearn also things that, that were learned before, but that needs some updates. So I think that's, what people in the content industry in general, whether it's about creating content, managing content, or even project manager, should really consider, some, relearn, unlearn, and learn. Simply because, you might say managing a project is managing a project, and there are some methodologies to do that. But with AI now, you have to infuse, you have to incorporate more automation than ever before. And that means that obviously as a project manager, you will still be a project manager, but you will also have to be using technology. You will have to work more closely with other roles content creators, for instance, or data managers, data scientists. I love the fact that now, I spent 15 years in my life in a data science company. And I always preached when I was there. I was not a data scientist, but I preached when I was leading digital globalization and localization. I was preaching for more collaboration between the content people and the data people, as I call that. And, now I think the time has never been better to really create this synergy between, data scientists and content experts. Because you mentioned before, Robin, data is going to be more important than ever, but also because I think that the combination of data scientists and content experts is going to be great. Because on the one hand, you have, the expertise of the language itself, linguistic effectiveness, cultural effectiveness, functional effectiveness. On the other hand, you have the expertise of data management. And if you bring those two profiles together, that's the ideal combination now to make an AI-powered supply chain work. And then, of course, everyone will have to acquire new skills. But I also believe that in addition to acquiring new skills, it's important to join forces, specifically between content and data.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. And, there's a term being tossed around. I'm not sure if it has made it to all of you yet. It's called datafication of content. We talk a lot about that one in my conversations. And, it's funny because content is data. And now we're telling it, we got to data, make it a little bit more data out of the content, right? So, if somebody wants to, and you're right, that conversation between the content and the data people needs to happen quite often, because here's an example: a software company, develop a software or write a learning a course and it's not based on a data principle. It's based on, the initial thought. I build the software, so whatever. And at the end of that cycle, after I finish building the software, I want to make sure that this software runs in 20 languages, but the software itself is not built for that. So now you got to go back to the architectural way of you built the software, how you built the software, and try to, decomponentize the whole thing and put it back into one brick at a time to build, allow it to build more languages. If you build it from the ground up with the data in your mind, then you have a lot better way to deal with it. And I'm assuming, Philippe, in your world, on your side, like when you develop a content for a learning purpose, first, content has a shelf life, obviously. And depends on which content we're talking about. Could be a 6-month shelf life, could be a year shelf life. But when you develop a content, with the ever-changing environment, how do you ensure this content stays flexible? Like with, the technology changes and the human part of it, make sure that this constant customization to the human, like, and as you mentioned earlier, like, does that impact you, and how do you stay agile within that development cycle?
I love your question, Robin. Basically, what we like big overviews and modularity. So every element has to be modular. So you think, first of all, also from the beginning, multilingual aspects, modularity of content, where does it belong? So you have basically a big map of all different modules, and you can plug in and out the different modules. And I'll give you a simple example. For example, there are some products in insurance. Maybe one is very important, our topic about climate change. So one of these modules might be interviews, expert interviews, exclusive interviews from specialists in the field. And then you can plug this in or out if it's, for example, now it should be cyber security, for example. But what is very, very important in training nowadays to keep people engaged is that it's really like nearly breaking news, It shouldn't be something that you develop 3-4 years ago and that you keep serving all the time, because new generations don't want this. It has to be engaging with storytelling, and with this modularity in mind, you're able to update some elements of it without having to reshape the whole course from the beginning.
Oh, that's absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely, like, you bring up a very good point there, Philippe. The idea of modularity and making sure that you build things in components and you can move these components around, and it's agile development, right? So you develop it once, you move it, you use it many times, and then when you need a component somewhere, you just take it and plug it in. It goes from the design, so the design thinking has to change, right? So am I correct by saying that?
Yes, totally, totally. And
So
if I may just jump back on what Bruno said before. Bruno, you said several times learning, unlearn, relearn. And so you all mentioned learning a lot, but I would dare to be a bit provocative. Is that really the priority of companies? Because in the company I was mentioning earlier, the learning was 2 hours. Here is how we're going to implement ChatGPT. People had never heard about it. They arrive in 2 hours later, they had to use and copy paste from ChatGPT. Now, that's one extreme example, but I think we are really in a learning world where I think we all have to learn and evolve, while the importance of learning really actually in companies, in my mind, it is not really as much in the C-level, but that's
I agree. I agree. And to be honest, to answer your question, it should be a priority, but it's not in many cases.
Yep.
And, you know, when I have to explain or justify why it should be a priority, it's a bit like other things to do, if I can put it like this, which is that, of course, it's an investment in time and money in the beginning, but it's going to save a lot of time and money afterwards. And that's, you know, that's the sort of, you know, I can really use the analogy of the content supply chain. If you create content that is poor, not localizable, you might say it's going to be quick and dirty, and I pass it on the localization team, but the localization team will not be able to do anything good because the content will not be good enough, will be not ready to be localized. So on the one hand, you will save a lot of time in the creation phase, but you're going to waste a lot of time and money in the localization phase because you won't be able to do anything. So training for me is the same thing. You need to invest indeed in training to make sure that people have the right tools and skills to do their job. And it takes money and time. But if you don't do that, you're going to waste, in many cases, much more money, much more time later on. So I always prefer to invest upfront, upstream as it's called, and, you know, save time and money downstream. And I think that's for me the value of training. It's not immediately valuable, but it's going to be valuable along the way.
I think Philippe, what you're mentioning is a cultural shift. As business leaders around the world needs to start thinking from a training perspective, not necessarily a snapshot in time, like as you mentioned earlier, 2 hours on ChatGPT and you should be an expert. It should become a culture where you're learning constantly as an employee of this organization. It doesn't matter what organization it is, you're constantly learning. You're encouraged to learning. I was on an earlier podcast with another company. They invited me to speak about, you know, sales and sales training and sales learning. And, you know, one thing I'd say about training in general, if you don't enforce the training, if you don't really make it part of the culture of how you ask your staff and your employees to train and be involved in training, it's a wasted effort. You may as well throw the money on the road kind of thing, because if you're only going to do a snapshot of a training, people are not going to remember that. If you're not going to enforce it with behavioral and with cultural shift in your organization, they're not going to, it doesn't matter what training are we talking about. Today, we're talking about AI. Tomorrow, it could be about any other level of corporate training in your world. Philippe ensures sales. You know, these things needs to be really enforced from the top down. In your world,
and if I may, Robin, just quick, I love this topic. So, and also we speak a lot about enforcing it from the top. Yeah, that's basically the stick. But there is also the carrot. There also your own envy to go and learn. And this is not fostered enough, I think, because people love to learn. Most people love learning. You just need to present it in a way with the storytelling, with the right attitude in these learning modules that people say, I want to learn it, instead of, oh, I must learn it.
Yeah, because there's, you know, we talked about this before. I mean, even for me personally, like if you ask me to read on a personal level here, you know, here's a document, go read this one and learn about it. My attention span to that one is like really tiny. If you give me something that I'm more engaging, I'm working with, or some sort of a game or whatever it is, I'm more interactive with the content. It's a lot better for me to learn it. And, you know, one thing, like we keep going back to AI, one thing AI really did for me personally, and as most of you know, I'm a, you know, coder by trade. Like that's what I went to university for, but, you know, I haven't done this for 20, 30 years now. I can go to a ChatGPT and I can say, hey, give me a code on this particular routine, and it spits it out. And now it's back, you know, it's back to me.
That's amazing.
The information is coming back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Maria, anything to add? Maria, Jose, anything to add on this?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about education and I was paying a lot of attention to what you were saying, and I totally agree. And I think that there is something, we are talking here about AI. We know what we are talking about, more or less. I mean, we are on the same knowledge-based cloud. However, I think there is a huge need to be able to transfer this to people who are not in our sectors and to people who may, I mean, today, we need to transfer that in a plain language. In my experience, the other day, I had this experience. I know nothing about, well, now I know a bit more about tokenization. And to me, that is something like beyond my possibilities. And I had this person in front of me at the event that I told you before that we had last week. And he was so clear and he put the information so easily in front of us all. And we said, okay, we can do this. Or we can use it for personal reasons, for our businesses and for everything. So we need to remember that there are many people who are not so savvy at all this AI stuff, and that we need to build and create the same possibilities for many other people. It's not just us that we know we can train ourselves in our teams because of the industry we are here talking about. There are many people who feel that this is like beyond their chances, beyond their possibilities. And there is this need, I believe, from my point of view, that we need to transfer that in a way that all of us can benefit from AI and from
Correct.
all these things that are great. We should not be, I mean, we need to create this environment in a way that it is not scary for people. So
That's
that
right.
they can embrace it, and so that they can say, okay, I want to learn how to code or how to do this and that, or maybe not coding, but to understand it with no fear. I think
That's right.
that's important.
Absolutely. And, you know, this brings back to a point that Romina made about being a developing country and in a variety of parts of the world. I feel like AI is a great unifier, meaning that it's making the opportunity available to anybody, making the learning a lot easier for everybody. Access to information. It is not restricted to any, you know, specific culture, specific demographic, specific country anymore. Anybody can learn. It's democratizing the international knowledge base, if you will, across variety of places. Do you agree, Philippe and Romina, in this one?
Well, I don't. I'm sorry. I think that poses a lot of opportunities for many people, but in developing countries, there are many people who are not in a position to benefit from that. In developing countries, there are huge gaps in terms of digital skills and other skills between people from high-income groups and low-income groups, from some urban and versus rural areas, and even among companies, between SMEs and large companies. So I think that we have a very big opportunity, but as Maria Jose was saying before, we are like in some aspects like in a bubble, but there are many people who need help to be able to benefit from that. If you think of a person who lives in a rural area where they don't have internet access, they cannot benefit from
So, what about your students? What about your students at university? I mean, you mentioned earlier you have students. Are they familiar with AI? Do they use it? What's their experience?
Yes. I mentioned that there are problems with basic education, but my students who are at the university and they study economics or some similar careers, they are familiar with AI and they will be able to benefit. But not all these people who don't go to the university, for example, because
I understand. I mean, that happens in every country. I mean, I'm from Canada, and I can tell you, like, our government is against oil, and our government is saying to the oil industry workers, go learn to code Python. Like, okay, so how do you take a person from the oil industry working in the construction of an oil field to start coding Python? That's a long transformation, if possible. I think it's an impossibility, but.
I would like to add, I'm not worried. I mean, I think that we we can really benefit from that, but we have to make huge efforts to help other people to benefit from that too.
Oh, 100%. I agree. Sorry, we're coming up on an hour here, so it was for me. I can talk about this topic for hours, to be honest, but I just want to make sure that we're staying within the time of podcast. I will. If you don't mind, we'll go around and we'll just wrap it up. If you don't mind, a few comments from each of you. Start with Maria Jose on, what do you think of the conversation today? What you're hoping, for the future, that kind of thing.
Well, I loved being here. I really enjoyed the point of view of all of you, and I think this is the way. I mean, we are people who have the chance to see this and to be living this AI era. And as such, I think that we have some kind of responsibility of transferring that to others and taking that to our companies and taking that to our environments. So I think that we are in a great moment in which we can combine artificial intelligence with human knowledge, and we have to embrace that. That's my point of view. So thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for the space, for the room, for this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
No problem. Thank you. Romina, anything on your side?
Thank you for having me. It was very nice to be here. I think this is a very important topic. Knowledge-based services offer huge opportunities for countries in general and firms in particular, and obviously for people. So we have to make sure that we can benefit.
And Romina, where are you located? Are you located in Cordoba or Buenos Aires?
No, in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires.
Oh, Buenos Aires. And Maria Jose, you're in Cordoba, right? If I remember.
No, Buenos Aires.
You're Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires too, yeah.
Ah, great. Two Buenos Aires ladies. Excellent. I can't wait to visit one day. Philippe, on your side, anything on your side?
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for a very interesting discussion. And if I may express a wish, I mean, it's more to our societies. I think a bit like the internet 20, 30 years ago when it came, it speeded up the globalization. I think we are now experiencing at a much higher pace with AI and other disruptive technologies, a change that our societies are not ready for as a whole, as Maria Jose said. So it's our duty, and it's also the politicians and all the people who can help all the others in society to embrace that change, because it can be tremendous help, but it will imply a big a new definition of our jobs and how we do it, how we live, how we interact. And if we miss that one, or let's say, if we manage to do that one, I can see huge opportunities for societies. But if we do miss that one, I see big trouble.
Big risk.
Yes, big risk. Yeah. So we have to, AI will help us, but let's make sure that we seize that opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Philippe. Bruno, any comments?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks for this great conversation. Thanks for inviting me. It was really great to be part of it and to be able to share my opinion, my humble opinion. I think that, during this conversation, we all talk about challenges and opportunities. And that's really what this conversation about AI should be. I think there are many articles, views, and thoughts about, all the issues and challenges. So it makes a number of people quite scared about AI and automation in general. But I would say it's the same every time there is a big change driven by technology or by human and technology. So it's not very surprising. We've seen that before with the internet. The internet was going to kill a number of people. It never happened anyway. So I think that, fortunately for us, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But no, I would say that, it's really important to really, focus on all the opportunities that are going to come from, the use of AI or the leverage of AI. And I would say that there are two keywords that should be really important for everyone to keep in mind regarding AI, but regarding, what we do in general, is to make it inclusive with other people and with technology, and to keep it value driven. Because as soon as you don't create value anymore, this is when the trouble comes. Thanks.
That's right. Well, I want to thank our panel. Maria Jose, thank you for joining. Philippe, Bruno and Romina, thank you for this lovely conversation today. I really appreciate you taking part of it. I hope this has been beneficial to all of us here, and I hope you got something out of it. And I hope we continue this conversation, because this is about dialogue. Our knowledge industry is about exchanging knowledge, exchanging ideas. And I hope this helped a little bit in driving the idea that we should be talking to each other a lot more often. So thank you again for being part of this. And for my audience, thank you so much for joining me on this journey with our lovely panel today. I invite you to like, share the comment, and comment on the content as you see fit. And I hope to see you again in the next episode. Much appreciated. Thank you for listening.